Cerebellum kind of follows on from my last EP, Wigmore. I like to see that EP as a sort of prelude to everything that went down, and it came out as just as I started my first regime of chemo, so it was kind of like the first chapter, whereas this EP is literally, we're going to town with everything. We're going deep and dark. I've experienced more, so had open heart surgery, had more chemo, had a stem cell transplant, sepsis. It sounds like almost a joke, because it's like, that sounds horrendous. But yeah, that's what happened, and each song touches upon each thing that happened to me in the last 2 years. So there's definitely a darker element. I just feel that the level of songwriting and everything like that has just kind of gone up a notch. Each track talks about different periods of that 2-year hell. So Freeze is about the fact I had open heart surgery. It's about the fact that during open heart surgery they have to essentially cool the patient right down and essentially freeze them whilst they operate on your heart. So you're kind of dead during your surgery, and it talks about conversations with the cardiac surgeons and waking up in intensive care, being absolutely high as a kite from all the mad pain killers that I was on. So yeah, but it really is just talking about that. So the name for this song came from the name of the chemotherapy that I was on from February 2023 to June 2023. And it was the name of the chemotherapy I was on for central nervous system lymphoma. And although the song isn't actually about the chemo, it just talks about, in general, me being an inpatient, feeling like my life has been stripped from me. Yeah, that's the thing about chemo. They're given weird names, and it stands for each drug. I think they thought they were really, really cool by coming up with the name Matrix. So after my first cycle of the Matrix, I came back home and then I got sepsis, because that's always a risk when you have chemo. It really was just about feeling like every bit of me was just fading away. It was just dying away from the sepsis, the fact that the chemo was just tearing me apart. I just felt like I had become a complete shell of myself, and I suppose it was a kind of way of doing a potential goodbye. You know, it's pretty deep and dark. Cerebellum, that is the part of the brain where I had my central nervous system lymphoma. It's the little teeny bit at the back of the main bit of the brain, and it controls balance and movement and equilibrium. That track is essentially about that. I've made it a non-linear song. It hasn't really got a sort of A to Z storyline. I've made it so it's very wobbly and weird, and that's exactly how I felt when I had lymphoma. I was being sick, couldn't walk in a straight line, and I kind of want to convey that in this song, with all the wacky effects that we're going to be using. It's a trippy one, so yeah. First time recording with the Echograms, which is Dan Kennard on drums and James Morley on bass. So a bit of a different sound, different songwriting approach this time round compared to my last EP and previous singles. So expect something a bit more adventurous. From my debut EP, to the few singles that I released in between, and then the last EP, 90% of it was me. There was definitely less scope than there is now with, you know, what I'm doing currently with this new EP. And it's nice to be able to work on my own songs with people who A, are into the same style of music, and B, are enthusiastic about it. There's definitely more ideas flowing that I wouldn't have necessarily have thought of, or, you know, were capable of doing. For example, James, the bass player, he said, you know, why don't you try using a nice flange effect here, or I'll use a bit of like phase on my bass. And it's things that I just wouldn't have thought of. So yeah, there's definitely more of a team effort with this. I mean, I'm enjoying it far more than when I used to just do it solo. I just think I always felt, not that it lacked something, but I now feel that there's this nice balance and we all sort of feed off each other, which is exactly what I wanted. Although overall having cancer was not a pleasant experience, good has come out of it, being able to write a whole EP about it, and, you know, and have people who genuinely believe in what you're doing and you actually, you know, you get on with on a personal basis. I think, you know, a good thing has come out of that, and I suppose I didn't see it becoming as sort of tight-knit as it is. So yeah, no, it is definitely a new era. Yeah. Jason, the producer, compared it to The Police, Skunk Anansie, and a bit of 90s shoegaze, so Slow Dive, that kind of thing. So I play a lot of bluesy guitar playing, and then there's an element of shoegaze, and someone gave it the name of bluegaze, which I thought, that can be sort of a new genre.